Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Let's frickin' go, folks. This is the era of Tucker Carlson unleashed. Fox News can go screw themselves. And trust me when I tell you, the word in my mind isn't screw so you can find the appropriate replacement, substitute it, insert it in, I'm right with you there. They tried to censor him, they tried to shut him up. And even after they kicked him off the Fox News lineup, they tried to shut him down, using I guess some sort of non-compete clause within his contract to stop him from having a show. He found, I guess we could call it a little loophole, a workaround, since he's simply participating on social media on his Twitter account. Well, now that Tucker's found that little loophole, he's gone full badass mode, telling Fox News to shove it where the sun don't shine. And he's doing hard-hitting journalism, exactly what the world needs right now. They tried shutting him down over his bombshell interview with former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund. Then a little snippet from that interview was released to the internet, and following that, Tucker Carlson decided that he's just gonna redo the show, breaking the internet once again, absolutely demolishing Nancy Pelosi's little precious narrative with a 50-minute sit-down segment, absolutely blowing the lid on this whole January 6th thing. We've got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so no wonder deep state actors are panicking. The bombshell revelations coming out of this interaction are just insane. Not surprising, because they essentially confirm everything we already assumed and already knew, but just insane. Let's first start off with the intelligence aspect.
The United States military. And this gets really convoluted once you get into the response on January 6th and how I was delayed getting resources. You have the United States military, Secretary of Defense or Acting Secretary of Defense Miller and General Milley had both discussed locking down the city of Washington, D.C. because they were so worried about violence at the Capitol on January 6th. On Sunday and Monday, they had been discussing locking down the city, revoking permits on Capitol Hill because of the concern for violence. You know who issues the permits on Capitol Hills for demonstrations? I do. You know who wasn't told? Me. Instead, on January 4th, what does Miller do? He puts out a memo restricting the National Guard from carrying the various weapons, any civil disobedience equipment that would be utilized for the very demonstrations or violence that he sees coming. It just doesn't make any sense.
Wait. So the military says we're so concerned about potential imminent violence that we are considering shutting down the city, but at the very same time they decide that the National Guard can't adopt an aggressive posture to protect the city.
They're deploying because they're going to be deploying National Guard to assist Washington, D.C. with crowd control at metros and some of the traffic control areas. But they put this out on January 4th, specific to January 5th and 6th. And this direction affected the National Guard in Virginia and Maryland. When I was begging for assistance on January 6th, they weren't allowed to respond at first. General Milley, we're now finding out, and it's not from me, this is from Carol Leonnig, investigative reporter with the Washington Post, has found that he was using data miner on his own, coming across intelligence.
Tell us what data miner is.
So data miner is an intelligence platform. It's not something your average citizen would have on their computer. I guess it goes in and does crawling across webs. I'm not really sure how it works.
Yes.
But it's not it's an intelligence platform. He's picking up intelligence talking about killing members of Congress and attacking the United States Capitol. And he's not telling me. He's telling select members of Congress. I mean, Carol Leonnig writes about it in her book. That's concerning as hell, because as the chief of police, there's a duty to warn there, and I should be told so I can take the necessary action. I don't know who else he was telling, but he sure wasn't telling me. I've done many national special security events, and this was handled differently. No, the intelligence, no jib, no coordination, no discussion in advance. It's almost like they wanted it to be watered down, the intelligence to be watered down for some reason.
They purposely watered down the intelligence, and instead of going to the chief of Capitol Police with the supposed security threats ahead of the event, they were going to Congress members and kept him out of the loop. That screams a purposeful conspiracy to purposely omit that intelligence from the one guy who should have been briefed on that information, the one guy who could have done something about it. That's not just a little whoopsie. Oops. Were we supposed to go to the Capitol Police chief with this information? Oh, my bad. I thought we were supposed to go to Nancy Pelosi's office. Later on in the interview, Stephen Sund essentially then kind of alludes alludes to the fact that, yeah, Nancy Pelosi was the person who needed to give him approval on deploying the National Guard on the day of, and that approval was slow-walked and took over an hour to come in. You can sense the frustration from Stephen Sun's delivery here.
You make this call immediately to the House Sergeant at Arms who reports Mr. Irving, who reports to Nancy Pelosi. He says, I'll call Pelosi.
He says, I'm running up the chain.
Running up the chain, but that is the chain.
I hear you. I got you. I want to tell you exactly what he said to me.
What happens then? Does he get back to you?
So for the next 71 minutes, I make the 32 calls to a number of agencies. 11 of those calls are follow-up calls. And look in the Senate combined report from 2001. They have a great infographic of the call after call after call after call. 11 times I call in the next 71 minutes going, where are we on the approval? Where are we in the approval? He goes, any minute now. Any minute. I'm going to get any minute. Finally at 2:09, 71 minutes later, 2:09, I'm finally given approval. Think about that. 71 minutes later, I immediately call Mike Stinger, say we've got approval. I was so pissed off, I made sure that the watch commander, I'm in the command center, I yelled to John Wisham, the lieutenant, that's my watch commander. I said, John, mark the time as 2:10. I finally got approval for the National Guard. I was that mad.
He was held back from doing his job. Person who was standing in his way was Nancy Pelosi. For the last almost 3 years, you've been called a crazy person for even suggesting anything even remotely close to that. You're a crazy, out of your mind, kooky Fox News conspiracy theorist. Well, here's the chief of Capitol Police at the time, the man who was on the literal front line during that day, essentially confirming that point. He has the exact same questions as you do. And it's not just in relation to Nancy Pelosi, but Ray Epps the same thing. When confronted on the issue of Ray Epps, he seems just as confused, just as perplexed as you are.
Here you have a guy on camera repeatedly saying, we're going to the Capitol.
We need to go into the Capitol. Into the Capitol.
And he's not in jail when people who didn't go into the Capitol are in jail? What do you make of that?
Again, that's something I actually addressed in the book. It's funny. There's a lot in here. So my concern with that, and I look at it from a chief of police point of view, is you have somebody that's down, and I believe he's right near the old executive office building on the 5th, the day before January 6th, talking to a group of people, talking about, we have to get into the building. We have to get in the building. And then the next day to see him at what's called the Pennsylvania Avenue Gate. It's one of the two fence lines I had down at the West Front. And he's there, and he clearly sees the banner, the metal crowd control barriers that are up with the signs saying restricted, and so he knows that's a restricted area. And he's up there, and you see him lean in, and he whispers in somebody's ear, and he covers his mouth in such a way so you can't read his lips or anything. Whispers in somebody's ear, and that person moments later is attacking my officers. That's suspicious as hell to me. It raised a lot of concerns.
What is that?
Yeah, our ideas are supposedly just crackpot, unhinged, unfounded theories. Give me a break. Anybody acting honestly knows that we haven't gotten to the truth. We haven't gotten to the true bottom of what transpired on the day. And speaking of never getting to the bottom, never getting to the actual facts, never finding actual closure or a conclusion on this topic, we now have reports. This is coming from Fox News. Take it with a grain of salt. We don't know if it's been totally corroborated just yet, but Jesse Waters is reporting this.
The January 6th committee has just been caught cold, orchestrating a massive illegal cover-up. Trump is headed for trial next year for January 6th related charges, and he's going to have subpoena power, which gives him the right to access critical documents and videos pertaining to the time period. That means the January 6th committee, whose 2-year investigation produced thousands and thousands of documents, transcript, and hours of deposition videos, the good, the bad, and the ugly, will be legally required to turn over whatever materials Trump requests. And as you know, Primetime does not believe in coincidences. Yesterday, we uncovered the January 6th committee has destroyed almost 50% of their evidence. The Democrat-run January 6th committee is missing 1.5 terabytes of data. This is an enormous amount of material. Records of the Capitol Hill security failures, video of Trump cabinet depositions, emails, text messages, gone.
That supposedly the January 6th committee deleted or has lost a massive chunk of their evidence related to their SHAM commission investigation. Not suspicious at all. Right when Donald Trump gets subpoena power to start mounting his defense, poof, half the hard drive ceases to exist. As if we haven't seen this exact play before. I'm not buying it, folks. I'm not buying any of it. I'm never going to sit here and defend violent actions of anyone. The intent isn't to justify violent behavior or riotous behavior. The intent is to get to the truth, because the left-wing media obviously wants to paint a picture that's black and white. The good guys and the bad guys. They're the good guys, and everybody on that day, anybody who participated, anybody who was present, and Donald Trump himself are guilty. It was an insurrection, yada, yada, yada. But obviously, there was a whole lot more nuance than that. Obviously, there were many factors at play. Some people were obviously involved in some sort of conspiracy, and they're obviously trying to cover that up. I guess in conclusion, we're not as crazy as they said we were, huh? And Tucker Carlson breaks the internet once again with another incredible segment. Nancy Pelosi, you're full of it, and you've been caught. Anyways, that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll see you on the next one.